I really don't want to speak too soon, but I might be joining social media for We Are Church. And like, that's scary to say on here just because of the current climate of the church, yo, but it's so exciting. The conversations that are being had are so exciting. And it just feels like so many things are coming together seamlessly. But because there's such a great cast, it's like, it's so cool. Like, I just thought of like being reminded of your mortality, that like, yeah, you could die, but it's not that deep. My life is not at threat, you know, in the way it would have been if I were in another country, you know? So the conversation I had just now was with the social media manager, I guess. She's transgender, and so our conversation today was really about like getting to know each other and each other's stories. She attended Rosebank Bible Church. I think it is Rosebank Bible College in the early 2000s. Like, that was the beginning of her transition. She completely transitioned in 2015. And so I just hearing her story with Jesus and the transition and like life. Unfortunately, like, her whole family's disowned her. Well, her parents have, and they told her brother, like, if you speak to her, you're not getting anything from the will. And so he's not speaking to her because of that. So her only family is literally like We Are Church. And the church itself is like 4 years old, started by Jane and Graham, but the three of them have known each other, I believe, from those Bible years. So before her transition, which is like, that's the church. That is the church. That is the church. Anyway, so I'm about to cook some food and just reflect on like, what the heck was that conversation? Like, for the first time being able to talk to someone who's studied church history and has deconstructed, like, that's all I've been asking from these churches I've been visiting. Like, hey, can we talk about like church history? Can I talk to you about my deconstruction?
Hi.
Hello, it's Seppo. I'm at the gate.
Hi.
Hi. I think I found the church. And you know, even if it's only for a season, right? I'm aware that like the trajectory of my life so far has been, I'm in a church for a season. I think it's gonna be forever, and it's just a few years, in some cases 10 months. And I want to say this feels different, but it also doesn't really. Like, I'm not feeling longevity just because I have plans to go other places. So yeah, wait, I have plans to go other places, so that's also fine. Like, if I'm just here for the next 4 years and I just grow, because I've never been in a church like this. Guys, non-denominational churches usually have a preference, right? Like, they're either like Pentecostal, Baptist, evangelical, charismatic, but this place is interdenominational. They've got a representative from NCMI, which is an organization that's Pentecostal, I would maybe non-denominational. Anyway, look it up. They've got an Anglican priest, a Methodist priest. Jane, the lead pastor, her accountability is an Anglican priest. Though theologically, she leans more Methodist. But then they've also got like people who preach from time to time that are more evangelical in their theology. So it's just like Pentecostal, let me say, in their theology. So it's just this beautiful integration, and that is the body of Christ. You know, the body of Christ is interdenominational, and so you get to be in a church where like literally all denominations are welcome, genuinely. And you do see that in various ways in a non-denominational church, but it's always a we agree to disagree thing instead of a we accept and embrace and celebrate thing. And here's the key, because all of the leaders are academics. All of them have gone through seminary or, you know, have studied theology in specializations. So the one has a specialization in decolonizing the Bible. The other has one in like liberation theology vibes. When it comes to women in leadership, like specialists that just like add this beautiful fragrance to their approach to scripture. So one of the ways this plays out, for example, is the fact that they follow the lectionary, which is, I believe, what all traditional denominations use to, you know, decide what's going to be preached on each Sunday. So literally 2 Sundays ago when we had the Catholic service, every Catholic church was looking at the same text on the same day, no matter where you are. And that's so cool. That's so cool. Today I was invited to Graham and Jane's house for lunch. I thought that it was going to be the 3 of us, but it was a group lunch that they have every few months just to get to know the new faces at the church. I was the youngest person there. And basically she shared, you know, like more information about the church, and then it was like a Q&A. I was the only person who asked questions, which is also fine. And then we went around talking about like where are we at in terms of our faith at the moment. And there was a framework in specific that Graham mentioned from this book. I'll link it below. And there are 4 stages to faith. Yeah, so when you're introduced to a faith framework, you first go through the stage of simplicity, right? You get the basics, the core doctrine, and then it moves to complexity, where some things you might have questions around that you can either like toss, ignore, or confront. And oftentimes when you confront or engage with those questions, you get to perplexity, which is the 3rd stage. And usually people leave the faith when they get to perplexity, because some things just aren't supposed to get to a certain conclusion. Or sometimes the conclusion can be too much of a risk, right? So perplexity. And then the last stage is harmony, where you just accept the nuance and the fluidity. And so like sometimes we can go between 3 and 4. Sometimes we can only stay at 3 and get glimmers of 4. And just to be in a space where that is spoken of and acknowledged is so good. It's so good. And again, I think the biggest piece is that all of them are intellectual. So something I'm looking out for is like, which I did ask in terms of the 5-fold, but I don't think I articulated my question well enough, because I was mainly referring to their preaching style, which is why they mentioned the lectionary. But I'm more so speaking to like, okay, what do we do about deliverance and like prophecy? Because Graham did mention, like, if someone has a word to say, share, or an utterance of tongues that they feel convicted to share, they have proximity, right? That there's relationship there to know that they can trust this person with what they're going to say. But I'm very curious about the deliverance aspect, what they think about like those things, especially because they're academics. So yeah, tomorrow we have a young adults hike right after church, and I'm eager to see even the intellectual integrity among the young adults. I'm very interested to see, and yeah, just like observe the culture in the young people. Because again, I was the youngest person there. I think the second youngest is in her 30s. Yeah, and she's in a polyamorous relationship. And she was raised liberal Methodist. Her dad was like very liberal in the way that he preached. And she went to seminary as well. Very passionate about understanding church history, and she specialized in decolonizing, like theology and decolonialism, whatever, however you say it. I'm tired. So this is a very, very fun journey I'm on, and I'm so grateful that the Lord is like doing this with me. I'm so grateful He's invited me into this adventure, because I see adventure in anything. Even if I was just like your average conservative fundamentalist Christian, that I embrace adventure in everything. I was fundamentalist like my whole life, you know, and that was still an adventure for me. This is just newer than new, and that's exciting. I think because there are risks, and because it's causing me to see reality a little more synthetically, if that makes sense. It's like all of these fragments from observations and things I've read and people I've heard from have been floating around. And then I had fundamentalist ideology right here that was nice and structured already for me to see and grasp. And then all of these other things are like communicating, hey, I'm part of this structure too, in a way that in society they're like, there's no way. If anyone tries to tell you these other things are part of this picture, they're lying to you. And now it's like the Lord's been like taking my hand to show me like, it's all part of it. It's all part of it. This one, not really part of it. So like, yes, basically there's a synthesis happening that's creating a new reality. And I'm grateful to be able to see it, you know? Those who have eyes to see, let them see. Those who have ears to hear. Implying those who have eyes and are willing to see, you know, will see. Because we all have eyes and we all have ears, even if you are deaf or blind. It's not about physical eyes and physical ears. It's about your perceivers. And we all have perceivers. Let's go. I need to settle myself. Good morning. Let's keep it real. I'm sure there's like a lot going on in my face. I can't check. And I don't want to check. So I woke up at 4:30 this morning, like literally in the middle of the night. And in my dream, I was carrying my younger cousin. Shame. This is probably going to be more distracting. I was carrying my younger cousin at some point. Her name's Lasidi, and she was bald. And that was the first thing I remembered when I woke up. I was like, oh, I'm awake. It's nighttime. What time is it? I should go bald.
I miss being bald. And part of this is like a subconscious thing too, because I watched the Maisley family's newest video. They're expecting their 9th baby now, and Alina was reshaving her head. Mind you, we have never seen her with hair. Since the beginning of their channel, she's been bald, and they started their channel like a decade ago when she was around my age. Yeah, crazy. Yeah, she's just always been shaving her head, and that was the vision I had when I first went bald. But yeah, going to the salon, I don't know, was like really dramatic for me, so I just let my hair grow out. But an afro was too much, so I always ended up cutting it again or relaxing it or locking it. I'm recording now just to reflect on like being single and stuff, because I was listening to Alexi Murdoch's song Wait, trying to be kind of meditative and just be present with the moment right now, still in bed. It is a little after 7 now, and I was just listening to the song and I was just singing to myself and playing the air acoustic guitar, and I was like, this moment right now is so romantic, just me and the Lord and this song. And then I realized I haven't told you guys I'm really not dating, like, and that'll be a video for another day, but really embracing singleness until my late 20s, you know? My last relationship was last year, and it was like 6 months long, but I had known this person like for years, and we gave it a try last year. Before that, my first relationship was 2016 to 2019, and then I was technically single until last year. But a lot of my identity has been centered on men and the male gaze, and like, if my husband were to come into my life right now, what would I be like? What would I like? What would I believe? You know, very much centered on men. And now it's just like, wow, no, it's literally just centered around Jesus. Yeah. And I know it's going to feel like a contradiction when I mention the fact that astrologically, all of that checks out so beautifully. I follow Vedic astrology though. That can also be another video for another day, but that's just me right now. So we will be going hiking after church, but it's cold. So this is what I'm wearing. I did pack sporty stuff just in case, but yeah.
I was also born and raised from Manchester.
But I couldn't find a single inclusive church at all. I was like, well, okay, I'm never going to church again.
Yeah.
And when I was at Pride, there was a whole bunch of people wearing like these shirts and everything, and they were handing out flyers. And I got a flyer from them, and I remember I hugged, I think it was Charlotte.
Yes, because they were doing free. They were
I
doing.
don't know if she remembers, I was actually in tears.
Yeah.
Because she had like a little shirt on that said like mom hugs or something.
Yeah.
And I hugged her and I got a little flyer. And then that night I googled We Are Church and I messaged Jane, and then now I'm here.
Wow.
That's awesome.
You said this was last year.
Yeah, last year October.
My question was going to be, before We Are Church, how long were you without a church and what was that journey?
So obviously there's a lot of
In 400 meters, turn right.
Because we like a little.
I mean, it must be nice, lovely. The Presbyterian Church, they pay depending on like what congregation you're in, right? So sorry.
No.
I don't see any animals here.
That's true.
That's worth the pain.
Yeah, definitely.
looks like there's no one.
Black wildebeest.
Oh,
Wow.
I see.
So cool though. Okay. You cannot take a dog off the side of the road.
Of course, can't do that.
Sorry about the noise, but I want to say this while I still can. So this morning I woke up feeling weird and I didn't know why. And then, yeah, started my journal with, I don't know where to start. Yeah, I realized that I'm really struggling with this church thing. I'm finding a church home. So basically, I was just journaling about some of the struggles I'm having. In terms of, wait, didn't I hear God about this church in 2023 when things were still fine and my faith wasn't in question? Was that really, really real, what I experienced when I decided that this was my church? All the way to now where it's like, okay, well, the reality of the church in terms of people and like their people style is just not what I thought it was or would be. And that's also valid. So yeah, and the church that I'm considering or was considering, I don't know, there are variables there too, like knowing people. You know, you don't want to go to a place where you know people when you're trying to find yourself and navigate being honest, unless that's the perfect environment to do that. Because then you actually test to see if you are being honest, you know. Versus if you're with a bunch of strangers, then it's a lot easier to lie. Yeah, so anyway, that's how I'm feeling today. I'm feeling a little bit off, but I know, like when I was getting ready this morning, I was just remembering, oh yeah, when I get to school though, everything's gonna be great. Because I was like, I hope I'm not in a fraught mood at school today. But I remembered when I get there and I see all these people, all my education people, and I'm engaging with the content, I feel so myself, so with the Lord even. Not that I don't feel with the Lord like now, but it's just different. It's just different. Yeah.
So just on style of preaching. So Cornerstone's style of preaching is very much teaching, like teaching based. And I thought that's what I wanted in a church. But I realized that it misses some of that spontaneity, some of that authenticity. Just for me personally, right? There are people who prefer to have the more structural quote on the slides, like the more planned out style of preaching. But then there's this other side of preaching that's prophetic and spontaneous, and the preacher could go off on a different tangent that might not return to the main point. And I like that style of preaching, so long as the overarching theme is the same. Maybe because I talk that way, I think that way, and I read the word that way as well. So, and with that style of preaching, you still get the teaching in there, but the teaching is more unique to the individual. You'll pick up on something super niche that someone else didn't pick up on.
in the tangents, or however the tangent might or might not have been connected to the overarching topic that's being preached on. So yeah, I told my mom, what a relief to have that identified. Like, oh, okay, what I actually want in a church in terms of preaching style is the more prophetic type of flow. And Urban Life has a nice blend of both, you know, just to note that as well. For the people who are watching this video and genuinely are looking for a church, but maybe are too intimidated to go about the process, or are just too church hurt to visit churches and be disappointed. Here are some. I want to visit Lighthouse again, but I want to go to the main site that I thought I was going to today. So I told my mom we'll try that out next week and we'll see. So what I like about Lighthouse from the website is that they have this more practical application style that Urban Life has. They have a finance course, they have a ladies book club, also apostolic like Cornerstone. Lighthouse came from Cornerstone. And maybe this can be a separate video actually. Much of the heart and vision that Cornerstone has was poured into Lighthouse, which is really, really nice. The only thing that's missing with Lighthouse, the site that I visited today, is that there was no deaf ministry. And I literally found the church because I asked Claude for churches in Joburg that have a deaf ministry. So that was a little bit disappointing, but again, the revelation about preaching style makes it all the worthwhile. Anyway, in any case, whatever happens, whether disappointing or, you know, a pleasant surprise in life in general for me, I consider it happens for a reason. So either way, none of it is a dud, ever. None of what I experience or go through or witness is in vain. So yeah. Yes, I'm back at this church. I can't escape it. CRC is the place to be. What do you know about it? Only what I've told you. So my mom's dropped me off. I did come last week. I came with the bus, and I think it's going to be a weekly thing. I don't know. Let me not speak.
CRC family, come on, shitters, we gotta get more excitement than that.
That's how we do it.
Come on, that's much better. How you guys doing?
That's the thing. Now while you're with me.
About you, because you're in Florida.
Jump into the driver's seat and put it in a speed trap. Running through the streets on a different frequency. No, you know just what I mean. We're running through the red lights, red lights, red lights, red lights. Red light. When I'm in the club, yeah. When I'm at the house, yeah. 365 party girl. Should we do a little key? Should we have a little, hey, when I'm, meet me in the bathroom if you 365 party girl.
Down 999, it's a good time. Who the fuck are you? I'm a brat when I'm up there. Now I wanna hear my trap. Are you bobbing now? 365 party girl. No. 365 party girl.